This is TechCrunch.
Fortnite maker Epic Games said that Apple's new installation workflow implemented in iOS 18.6 has had a positive impact on its user growth with a 60% decrease in drop-offs. Apple started allowing EU users to install alternative marketplaces earlier this year under the Digital Markets Act. At that time, the installation process was lengthier and involved multiple scare screens, warnings about the potential dangers of installing apps from sources other than the App Store. Developers complained that Apple's tactics resulted in people abandoning the installation process. Earlier this year, the EU slapped a $568 million fine on Apple for not complying with DMA rules. In July, Apple released a new process for installing third-party app marketplaces on iPhones with iOS 18.6. The new process includes only one screen showing users that they might miss some features, such as subscription management offered by the App Store. The screen also informs users that the alternative app store's developer will handle their data directly. Epic Games said that prior to the iOS 18.6 update, 65% of users attempting to install its game store abandoned the process. However, after the update, that figure dropped to 25%. The company noted that this drop rate is closer to the rate it observes with Windows and macOS users installing its game store. Despite this improvement, the company remains critical of Apple's policies, including charging a core technology fee, imposing notarization and approval policies, and implementing rules that make it difficult for developers to distribute their apps through alternative app stores. Epic Games repeated an argument from its lawsuit against the iPhone maker that Apple allows users more freedom to install apps from outside the App Store on Mac computers. During that lawsuit, Apple's SVP of software, Craig Federighi, said that if the company allowed the same level of freedom on iOS as on Macs, the platform would be overrun by malware. Apple is not the only company Epic Games is battling. Epic Games is also criticizing Google for having a lengthy process for installing third-party app stores, along with screens that warn users against installing apps from unknown sources. The gaming company said that Google misleads users by suggesting that apps from competitors like Epic Games might be harmful. Last year, a court in the U.S. ordered Google to open up the Play Store and allow third-party app stores. In July, the search giant lost its appeal against the decision. On Wednesday, Wikimedia Deutschland announced a new database that will make Wikipedia's wealth of knowledge more accessible to AI models. Called the Wikidata Embedding Project, the system applies a vector-based semantic search, a technique that helps computers understand the meaning and relationships between words, to the existing data on Wikipedia and its sister platforms, consisting of nearly 120 million entries. Combined with new support for the Model Context Protocol, a standard that helps AI systems communicate with data sources, the project makes the data more accessible to natural language queries from LLMs. The project was undertaken by Wikimedia's German branch in collaboration with the neural search company Gina AI and DataStax, a real-time training data company owned by IBM. Wikidata has offered machine-readable data from Wikimedia properties for years, but the pre-existing tools only allowed for keyword searches and Sparkle queries, a specialized query language. The new system will work better with retrieval augmented generation systems that allow AI models to pull in external information, giving developers a chance to ground their models in knowledge verified by Wikipedia editors. The data is also structured to provide crucial semantic context. Querying the database for the word scientist, for instance, will produce lists of prominent nuclear scientists as well as scientists who worked at Bell Labs. There are also translations of the word scientist into different languages, a Wikimedia-cleared image of scientists at work, and extrapolations to related concepts like researcher and scholar. The database is publicly accessible on ToolForge. Wikidata is also hosting a webinar for interested developers on October 9th. The new project comes as AI developers are scrambling for high-quality data sources that can be used to fine-tune models. The training systems themselves have become more sophisticated, often assembled as complex training environments rather than simple data sets, but they still require closely curated data to function well. For deployments that require high accuracy, the need for reliable data is particularly urgent. And while some might look down on Wikipedia, its data is significantly more fact-oriented than catch-all data sets like the Common Crawl, which is a massive collection of web pages scraped from across the internet. In some cases, the push for high-quality data can have expensive consequences for AI labs. In August, Anthropic offered to settle a lawsuit with a group of authors whose works had been used as training material by agreeing to pay $1.5 billion to end any claims of wrongdoing. The U.S. Department of Energy has taken equity stakes in Canadian company Lithium Americas and its Nevada mining joint venture with General Motors as part of a renegotiation of a federal loan. Under the new terms, the U.S. government will take a 5% equity ownership in Lithium Americas and a 5% ownership in the Lithium Americas GM joint venture. The equity stakes will be acquired through no-cost warrants, which are financial instruments that give the government the right to purchase shares at a set price. The new terms came out of a renegotiation with the Department of Energy's Loan Programs Office over a $2.26 billion loan that was awarded to Lithium Americas under the Biden administration. Shares of Lithium Americas spiked 34% in after-hours trading. The Department of Energy said the equity stakes will serve as additional collateral on the loan, helping to reduce repayment risk for taxpayers. Lithium is a key chemical element that is used in the batteries of electric vehicles and smartphones. U.S. Energy Secretary Chris Wright said in a press release, "Despite having some of the largest deposits, the United States produces less than 1% of the global supply of lithium. Today's announcement helps reduce our dependence on foreign adversaries for critical minerals by strengthening domestic supply chains and ensures better stewardship of American taxpayer dollars." The announcement Tuesday is the latest action by the Trump administration to take ownership stakes in companies. The Trump administration has announced plans to take a 10% stake in Intel and MP Materials, which operates a rare earth minerals mine in the United States. Lithium Americas is developing the Thacker Pass mine in Nevada, which is expected to produce enough lithium to make as many as 800,000 electric vehicles per year in the first phase. President Trump approved the permit for the project in January 2021 at the end of his first term. GM bought a 38% stake in Lithium Americas last year for $625 million, which gave the automaker the right to buy the entirety of the first phase of production, and lithium from the mine for 20 years during the second phase. In total, that would be enough lithium for 1.6 million EVs over the next 2 decades. That's it from TechCrunch. For more tech stories like these, go to TechCrunch.com.